stand over here so I'm not giving you anyone with my back. Buenos días, ¿cómo estamos? So the school year started. It's been hot. They say it's going to be a cool in the 90s this week, so it's almost going to feel like fall around here. We're going to have to start wearing jackets. Nice rain last night, a little crazy weather, but we're used to it in the fall. Last time I spoke to you was about a year ago. I am coming up on my year anniversary later this month, and there's been a lot of work happening in the school district to align our resources to ensure that our schools get the support that they need, and that we focus on our schools with the most need and our population of students that need the most. We know that there are a lot of needs across our district when we serve 90% children of color and 86% of children that live in households that qualify for a free reduced lunch. That means that the school district needs to step in and do more than just teach the academic curriculum. Times that means that we need to provide shoes, jackets, clothing, food for the families, health care, eyeglasses, free after-school support, everything that our children need so that they can feel like the family and the child is taken care of, so that the student can show up and be ready to learn. But the most important thing for us is providing services and being unapologetic about ensuring that every child in the school district not only gets what they need, but they exceed their highest potential. We have 3 sets of students that have historically underperformed. Those are our African American students, our emergent and bilingual students, and our students with special needs. And so we've created a framework for how to provide support to both our schools that we call Tier 3 and our students at our schools throughout the district, so that they get the support to bring them up so that they can succeed not only at Fort Worth ISD, but after they leave with us. Our super audacious goal is that we build generational wealth in our communities of color in the city of Fort Worth. And in order to do that, we have to have tomorrow's workforce ready and prepared. So, our team's going to talk a little bit about the schools and the systems that they support. Also, just how we have to take every dollar and be very conscientious about how we use it. How we're creating an academic return on investment process so that we continue to do the things that work well for children far after those federal dollars go away. But we also strategically abandon the things that we might like, but actually don't help kids. In a lot of schools, a lot of school districts across the country, we do things that feel good, but if it's not leading to academic outcomes for our children, we have to say, not the best use of our dollars. And that's really hard, but it's necessary for our kids, because we're always going to put our students first. And then they're going to talk a little bit about something called a school performance framework, where we've been able to use a variety of data points, both academic and then some non-academic pieces, the pieces that show that students feel safe, healthy, and connected to our schools, and have tiered our schools so that we can push in supports. So year 1, really, of a new team, really building processes within our school district so that we can get to results. Change is hard. When I spoke to you a year ago, I said, what do we need to support? We need you and 3 of your friends to come start volunteering at our schools. That was the first homework I gave you. Please, please come, volunteer, read to children. Do tutoring in whatever area you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable with that, make copies for teachers so that they can spend those 20, 30 minutes working with kids individually. The second piece of homework I gave was Be supportive when the change hits, because we are going to be about students and lead with students first, and that means making uncomfortable changes for adults in the system. We saw some of that in the spring as we went through our reorg, because everyone wants change, but no one wants the change to affect them. The third piece of homework I'm going to give you is, as we go through this academic return on investment, there may be programs, there may be special events, there may be just programs within the schools that feel good, that adults like, that kids like. But if it is not leading to academic results for children, using our data, we have to be supportive in strategically abandoning them. And that one is going to be really hard, because everybody knows what a sacred cow is, right? Like, sometimes you have on a campus one particular adult that started a program and they've been doing it for 20 years and their blood, sweat, and tears is in that program. But if only 30% of the kids can read on grade level, do we continue doing that program? So that's going to be the next step where I'm going to need your assistance. The third thing I told you last year that becomes the fourth thing this year is we need your continual support. Sharing the positive in the school district. Are we perfect? Far from. Do you need to hold us accountable every single day? Do you need to share with us the areas where we need to improve? Please. But we need to be supportive for our students. Because as humans, we tend to only gravitate to the negative, right? I know the news does that. 100 perfect days of school, one day where something goes wrong, every news station is in front of that school district telling everybody. And we do that as human beings. I can do that in my own life. I can come to work and complain about, I don't know, my husband leaving his dirty socks on the couch, right? Like, we tell the negative, but I don't tell about how supportive he is, and when he is in town, how he cooks dinner to make sure that I'm not worried about what time I get home, and how he cleans up and helps me be a better superintendent. And we tend to do that about our school district. We tend not to tell the 15 positive stories, and we gravitate to the negative. And we have to tell our good stories. We did bring in a new communications chief. She was unable to be with us today because she has a special event happening with her family. But I hope you've seen the changes with even our bilingual coverage. We have two specialists, both are bilingual, but one in particular, his primary language is Spanish. And he is out there making sure that our families who are Spanish speaking know what's happening in the school district and what supports and services our school district provides to the families of Fort Worth. We've been meeting a lot with advocacy groups that had no idea that in Fort Worth ISD, if a child needs glasses, not only do we do the screening, but they get glasses for free. And not those crazy ones that we got in the 80s that were brown and big and it was embarrassing. Any of you had those free glasses? They were like this big and it was brown and generic, and you were embarrassed to wear them. And so you took them off. Our students have the ability at no cost, if they don't have insurance and need that, to walk in, have doctors check their vision, pick out really cool lenses, and get brand new glasses. But a lot of our families don't know about that. We have family resource centers where not just children, but families can get counseling. Mental health is a stigma in the Latino community. This is a place where families can get assistance at no cost through Fort Worth ISD. Fort Worth ISD is one of the only large school districts, one of the only school districts across the country that provides after-school care at zero cost for families. I heard I'm jealous. one of the only school districts that provides free transportation at almost every other school district. If you choose a program of choice or a school of choice, then you waive the right to transportation. Well, you chose that school that's 40 minutes away, vaya con Dios. Not in Fort Worth ISD. We say we're going to remove that barrier. So there is a lot of good that we do. But repeating, are we perfect? Absolutely not. Do we need you to hold us accountable? Every single day. Do we need you to help us be the solution and problem solvers? Please. So I leave you with this before I turn over to the team. If you haven't already, and you aren't a parent in the school district, every Friday I send out a weekly message. Provides informative pieces and also some good, positive stories, things happening, promoting the school district. If you're not a parent and you don't receive that, but you want to receive that, just shoot me an email. Pretty easy, it's angelica.ramsey@fwisd.org, or there's a generic superintendent at fwisd.org that comes to me also. We'll add you to that list. We have about 275 people across the city that receive that every week. Get that. Arm yourselves with some good information so you know what's happening in the school district, and continue as best as you can to be a purveyor of hope when it comes to public education. We have a legislative session that's about to start next month. Our legislator has yet to provide dollars for pay increases for teachers or for instructional materials, for a whole lot of things. They're holding on to it for that legislative session as they talk about vouchers, because they want it to be one and the same. Use your voice. It is not a coincidence that that is happening in October when teachers can't go to the Capitol. You know, tell our legislator that you support public schools. It is the civil rights issue of our era for children, not just in Fort Worth, in our state, in our country. And if we erode public education, we erode the fabric of this country. So I'm going to yield to the team so they can explain to you a little bit about what areas they support. And then ultimately, I think we'll end up with Mr. Garcia that can talk about the school performance framework. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate you and your partnership. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Guerrero.
Hi, good morning. Buenos dias. I don't usually sound like this. I think I have 50% of my voice back. I think it's allergies. I don't feel bad. It's just I don't have a voice. Thank you for sharing that. In addition to education being a civil rights issue, I'm very passionate about the work that I do, and I am so blessed that I get to do it here with you in Fort Worth ISD. I am over Network 3, which means that I oversee the areas of Dunbar, Diamond Hill, Jarvis, Haskell as well, and Trumbull Tech. I also have the specialty school of young men. I oversee also district-wide anything dealing with English language acquisition or kids who are learning English. Now, Dr. Ramsey shares some demographics and percentages with you. We have over 40% of our kids enrolled who for them English is their second language. That means that every single one of our schools serves kids who are learning language. So not only are we looking at being able to teach them to read, write, and give them access to the courses that other kids have access to, but we also have, or teachers have, the challenge of also teaching them English as well. So if you have learned a second language or you have taught a second language, you know that that is something that comes in years, right? However, we do have a big percentage of our students who have been identified as an English learner for almost all their lives. So we have something that's called long-term English language learners, and they have been with us for at least 6 years or more who still need to learn English. So I know that Dr. Ramsey always says, don't take things personal, push forward. In this area, it is personal to me. I was born in Mexico, in central Mexico, Rio Verde, San Luis Potosí. If you have seen an area of Mexico, that is the state that looks like a puppy dog. I was born there and I went to school there until 4th grade, and then my family and I moved to Houston. So I came to the United States not knowing any English, and also the educational system here is so much different than it is in Mexico. So it's just not our kids being able to learn a second language, but also being able to get used to the American school system. So it is personal to me. It is personal that our students who are learning English are achieving the least of other students as well. So as Charlie will talk about the SPF network, we do have identified some groups that are in need of additional support, and one of those groups is that group of kids who are learning English. So anything with dual language programming, ESL programming, newcomer programming as well, that is something that my team and I are very much dedicated to. So if you hear of a restructuring in dual language, we may be consolidating some of those programs or starting other newcomer programs. Please do know that everything is based on the data that we're gathering, the demographics that have changed. So while in years past, we may have had a need for special language centers in some areas, now looking at our map and demographics, those language centers are in need everywhere, because we have our students who are coming to the country and who are in need of learning English everywhere sprinkled throughout our district. So it's just not in certain areas. So to cut it short, I'm so grateful to be here doing something that I love for the kids that I am passionate about, and then also being able to, in my own way, be able to help every single school, because all of our schools do serve English. Kids who are learning English. I'm especially proud of the work that we'll do in the areas that I'm directly responsible for, and I welcome that thought partnership in being able to do that. So thank you for your time, and I am so glad to be working with this group. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Kelly, and try really hard not to walk around while I talk, because I do that, but I don't want to trip over the microphone. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming out on Saturday mornings. I think this says a lot about the community and the group and the city of Fort Worth. Dr. Ramsey has done a fabulous job of kind of letting you know some of the changes, what to expect holistically. But I want to go over maybe what that might look like on a day-to-day basis for some of your students, some of our families. I oversee humanities for the district. So that includes reading, writing, social studies, our library programs. Please know that you will see change. And that's one of the things that everybody wants, but it's hard sometimes. Change is uncomfortable, but that's where the growth happens. So one of the things that we have going on right now is our Saturday Learning Quest. It's going on right now, right down the street at Latino Mendoza. I was there this morning. The students are excited to be there. It looks different than in the past. In the past, it's been at more campuses. When we talk about identifying opportunities and making sure that we really focus our efforts, those things will look different. Programs that we've had in the past will not be the same, and that's a good thing. They need to change in order for us to be more productive. So please note, Mr. Garcia is going to talk about the way that those campuses were identified through our framework, but it was very intentional. The work that we're doing is incredibly, incredibly intentional. We also want to talk about what it's going to look like in the classroom. You will see us, your students will see us in campuses. You will see the superintendent and campuses. This is very, very important. I will tell you it's been uncomfortable for some of my principals. I've been out on campuses. They're not all used to that, and that's okay. We're there to support them, and we're learning to work together. So as we move through that process, you may hear from some of them that they see us more. There will be more pictures, more social media, more communication about the work that's going on. So please know that that will continue because we are there to support them, their students, and what's going on in the classrooms. Students may see multiple teachers in the same classroom. We're working on plans to have our executive directors do learning walks across the district. You'll see district principals gathering at multiple campuses. You don't always see groups of principals moving around, but that's the way that they learn from each other. They visit their campuses, they have their teachers visit other classrooms, and this provides them with an opportunity to have collegial discussions about what's going on, how to improve, what's working, what's not working. Those discussions are sometimes, I don't want to impose this on your family, but when my family gets together and has discussions, sometimes there's differing opinions, right? That's important. That diversity is very important to have those conversations. So there's going to be more of that. That is what helps make a better learning environment for our students. So there may be more adults in your kids' classrooms. There'll be people visiting other campuses. There'll be people teaching together, co-teaching. It's a model of learning best practices, and that ultimately will be more helpful for our students. One of the other things that we're working on is what we call high-impact tutoring. In the past, we brought in hundreds of vendors. And I will tell you, as we look at our academic return on investment, that return was not there. We are looking to make sure that we have a rubric, a model that can identify that return on investment to make sure we're a good usage of our funds. But we decided that our local teachers are who our students learn best from. So we want to focus on building capacity in our teachers instead of paying other companies to come in and work with them. Those relationships are very important, and we want to capitalize on that and strengthen those community relationships for our students as well as our teachers. In the long term, that will help our students, it will help our teachers with retention, and then we can actually ensure that they're there. Those companies, just so you know, the attendance was very sporadic, trying to get employees, and that's not what's best for our students. But you will hear that that's different. Some campuses really liked their partnerships, the companies they worked with, but holistically, it just was not what was good for our students. So that will be changes that are coming as well. We have not offered a Saturday program or as much tutoring for our middle school and high school students, and that will be changing. I know we have some middle school and high school students here. They're here on a Saturday. That's not always fun, but we feel like we're doing what we can to help our students improve. So please know you may hear some changes regarding expectations for students, either for tutorials or invitations to come in to do extra work. So those are additional changes that will be coming for our students. I want you to know really how proud I am to be a member of Fort Worth ISD. I love this community. I love, again, the fact that you guys are all here, that family, that one Fort Worth that Dr. Ramsey has really set out as a vision. I think you can feel it. If you ask me, that's the #1 difference between last year and this year. Everywhere I go, people talk about the feeling, how it feels different. And so we are looking forward to continuing that. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Garcia, and he's going to go through some of our SPF framework and how we came to some of these decisions, but I look forward to speaking with you all afterwards.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm going to stretch this out so I can get as close to you all as possible. Buenos dias, good morning. First of all, thank you for being here today. As educators, as advocates for our children, and believe it or not, we are here because of our children. Where's Peter? Where did Peter go? Come here, Peter, real quick. Do you mind if I borrow Peter real quick? Give Peter a round of applause. There's my guy right there. You doing well? You doing well? You want to say hi to everybody, Peter? Tell him. You want to say hi to everybody? Peter says hi, guys. Give Peter a round of applause.
Thanks for being here.
It is so important for us to really put things in perspective, right, wherever we go. And it is important for us today to talk about what we're doing here, why we're here, why we do school for a living. Although we're presenting to you all, we want to remind you that we're very passionate about what we're trying to do here in this district. Our affiliation with LULAC is appreciated, and we thank LULAC. I've had personally a long history with LULAC as a high school principal in El Paso, Texas. The LULAC chapter in El Paso was pretty much exclusively working with my high school, and it helped us propel our students to levels that we couldn't have done on our own. So thank you very much, LULAC. Second of all, our school board members are here. We want to thank them for all the help and the support they provide us. We can't do our work without your support. We thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about school, and I'm going to try to be as, as relatable as possible, because I know that when we have our students here, we also want them to fully understand what's going on. But there are going to be changes in our district, and I'm a firm believer that the past is not a predictor. Habits and actions are. So what we do with the resources that we have moving forward will make all the difference to the trajectory of our students and student outcomes, because it's all about student outcomes. Our two associates and Dr. Ramsey really gave me a soft toss, because now I really get to talk about the plan of action and what we're going to do. One of the main differences this year is that we have aligned ourselves with what's called the School Performance Framework. It is an internal document that allows us to look at different data subsets, information about schools, academics, 80%, and then school experience, 20%. So it takes each school and it allows us to extract how they are doing in different levels. Not just the STAR test, not just in the course, that's included, but there's other items of schools that make them successful. Hope you all agree with that. And without getting into the weeds of what that looks like, long story short, we're able to identify what each of our schools is doing very well and areas that they need support. That is key for us. And the reason why that is key, because it helps us deploy resources to the schools that need it the most. And it helps us hold people, adults, accountable for the results that we get. There's two factors that are important for you to remember. One, we do have our schools tiered by stars. We want all our schools to be a 5-star campus. What that means is that on that SPF framework, they scored so high on every single indicator that they're doing very exceptional. Those schools will get support, but they're going to get different support than a 1-star school would get. As you can imagine, that 1-star school, they're struggling in a whole lot of different areas. However, we're going to know the areas that they're struggling in, and we're going to be able to deploy, as I said, human resources, human capital, money, and people to the schools. The data at the end of the year does us no good. So another piece of that SPS framework, in alignment with our teaching, the 4 corners of the classroom, is to be able to identify more often how our kids are doing academically throughout the year, right? And so in conjunction with those two factors, we're going to be looking very closely at how our kids are doing, tracking it, and in deploying that resource. The second item that I think is very important is looking at our student performance that is unique to the individual child. Every school has an opportunity group of students that are really underperforming. And those students are at the bottom quartile of their class peer group. What are we going to do with those kids? We're going to provide them a different way of approaching the support they need. Because not all students are at the same level, right? And they all need different supports. And we're also firm believers that somebody who started the smartest doesn't always end up the smartest. So our goal has to be to ensure that we provide every support so that any child, based on their effort, right, on their effort and their willingness to learn, has the opportunity to extend their learning, just like this person in here standing in front of you today, being able to talk to you all on a beautiful Saturday morning, right? Because if you look at my historical as a student, although I was a good student, I struggled, but there was good people that helped me. And that's what we're here to do, is to help students, all of our students. A couple of other differences you're going to see this year, as Dr. Ramsey said, and I don't want to repeat what she said, but I will tell you we are looking very closely at the resources and the monies that we're spending and if they're paying off, right? I cannot stand here today and tell you I know exactly which ones, because we need to see them in action, right? We need to understand that we need to track them and have metrics in place throughout the year to have a real understanding of where we're at. I can look at the past, but remember, we are bringing so many new initiatives, so many new accountability measures, that we feel that a lot of the resources that the district is already doing well and have done well can be exploited and better so that we can get the results that we need. And so in short, those are some of the subtle differences that we're doing in Fort Worth ISD. Beyond that, there's 3 things that we're telling our folks this year that we're going to focus on. You want to hear them? You want to hear them? There you go. La gente, mi gente. Hope. What is hope? Esperanza. Everybody needs hope. We got to get up every day wanting to do better and believing that we can have a better day. Our kids need it, our teachers need it, our staff need it, we need it. Dr. Ramsey said we need your support. Absolutely. School has become like a political football where you turn on the news and you hear something negative. We need the support. We need you to believe in us. And we need your help. Joy. What is joy? Gusto. Yes. We need enthusiasm. We need our employees showing up to work ready to go. We need students that are excited to go to school because they're going to learn in that class, because they're being challenged. And we need the teachers to ensure that when we talk to them about getting better, that they have an open mind and an open heart, and they're coming to work excited. Just like that first interview for, or they interviewed for, right? And lastly, urgency, a sense of urgency. Being able to ensure that students like we have today, students like Peter, are at the forefront. And if we do not make it better for them, they lose that opportunity every single day. They cannot get it back. So we need to act urgently and put things that are important at the forefront. So hope, joy, and urgency is what we've been spreading throughout the year for our staff members. We want you to own that, inherit it, and help us promote that throughout the city. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll punt it over if I talk too much.
Now, before we do that, does anybody have any questions for any of the Fort Worth ISD team right here? Any questions? Okay, over here. Alex.
Can y'all hear me okay? I think just talking about the change, just talking about change is phenomenal. Because I've been here 40 years and I've talked to some board members in the past about you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. And they would just keep doing the same thing. Now, I've heard about change. The 5-star thing you talked about, Charles, is one of them reading at grade level?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
That's all.
All right, over here. Question over there.
Thank you for being here. Buenos dias. I really appreciate y'all being here. And we have students here from Young Women's Leadership Academy. They are part of the first LULAC youth group at Young Women's Leadership Academy.
All right.
Young Women's Leadership Academy, 60% is Latina. We have Latina girls, and they are amazing, amazing students. So please give your support to Young Women's Leadership Academy. But my question is the data, the information that you were talking about, Dr. Garcia.
Soon, Dr. Garcia. Thank you.
How are you taking that information, that data that you need to improve and analyze and strategize to make changes?
Great question. We pulled our end of the year data from last year, okay? And we looked at each school's metrics for certain indicators that I talked about, the academics and the school experience piece. We're about to get the new STAR results. We're gonna add those in there so that we can have the most accurate data that we have. But beyond that, I talked about the additional data that we're getting. With this will be the classroom instruction data and the assessment, unit assessments that we're gonna be building in conjunction with SPF. That data is gonna be the key data that we go back and on the spot be able to identify where our kids are missing the learning, right? And we're able to deploy our folks to support that work. SPF, we've already talked to our principals. It's an inward-facing document because we want to use it internal with our folks to ensure that we know the game plan moving forward is to provide this school this support, this other school this additional support. So I hope I answered your question. It's a good question.
Yes, it might, at least two, and maybe you have already thought about, the students, getting the opinions and thoughts of the students directly. Have y'all ever considered doing something that way? Because I know students have wanted to say, you know, how come nobody's asking us directly?
Yes, so I have a student advisory, and every one of the schools sends 2 to 3 students. Was it last week, 2 weeks ago? We had almost 60 students join us. And so one way is that advisory, because that's exactly what we do. We ask them directly, what's going well, what do you need, and then literally just open up and talk to us about the things that you need us to know. In addition to that, at the school site level, we want to replicate that so that there are opportunities at each school where the principal is listening and hearing from our students. And then lastly, as we work through kind of that last piece, which is that qualitative piece for both our students and our parents, so that we can get qualitative data on an annual basis at least on what their experiences are with our schools. So yes.
All right, over there in the far back.
Okay, I just want to talk about change. The best change that I've seen in the school district is Dr. Ramsey and her staff. And whether it's Cigar Chavez, whether it's with the outstanding women art show that's every year, and I hope all of you go to because it's fantastic. She's there. She commits herself 24/7 to her job. And we need to support her, and we need to be there because she asked us to be there. And we've got 2 people I know that are on the school board, a school board president, and one of our school board representatives here too. And they have made a change too. I will tell you, my school board representative is the only person who's ever sent me something outside of an election year, and it was a Christmas card. First time I ever had that happen. Thank you, and I appreciate that.
All right, let's recognize Anela Lobano, school board member for Fort Worth. All right, you know what? I'm going to recognize the student first.
So I honestly, it doesn't matter. But I honestly think that that's unfair because the students that have to touch up, because the students that they pick are based on academics, and they're not basically like saying how they feel. Because I know the 2 at our school, one's a cheerleader and one's an art student. They're not in like any like voice like so I just think that that's unfair and it should be like equal to everyone.
So we will work with your principal to get more voice and to talk to the other campus leaders to make sure that it's a diaspora of students so that there's a continuum, because we specifically said we don't want, it's great if you want to send us like your class president, that's fine. But you have 2 or 3 other students, and they have to be representative of your school. So we'll send a reminder, we'll work with your campus.
We got one more, then we're going to. All right, our next speaker immigrated to the United States from Pakistan. He went to Southern Methodist University, University of Texas at Dallas, and Oxford University. He was the first Muslim American ever elected to the city council in Euless, Texas, first mayor pro tem, and the first Muslim American ever elected to the Texas legislature here from Tarrant County, representing District 92, Salman Bagani.
Thank you, Representative Garcia. Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Salman Bojani y soy representante del estado de Texas. That's all the Spanish I know. I'm really, really honored to represent Texas House District 92 in the House of Representatives. And thank you for inviting me to speak, Representative Garcia. I see a lot of other representatives as well. Representative Lon Burnham right at the back over there. He served the Texas House of Representatives with a lot of passion as well from Fort Worth here. I want to quickly give a shout out to a couple of other people that I see in the audience. I see our co-chair of the Hispanic Advisory Council for District 92, Joanna Cardoza there. And then Juan Carlos Cerda right there. You want to stand up, they're amazing leaders for the Hispanic community. How he's leading with passion for the Hispanic community and the youth that are involved here and undocumented people as well. Thank you so much. I also want to give a big shout out to our Natalie, our district director, Natalie Marquez right there. So if you need anything from my office, please reach out to her or myself. Would really love to help anybody here. I'll quickly talk about where I come from, where the first session that just ended. It's sort of a mixed bag of good, bad, and ugly. And then at the end, I want to talk about the next legislative session and how we prepare for that. So as Representative Garcia said, that I was born in Pakistan and then moved to the United States when I was 19 years old, and I worked at gas stations, mopping floors, cleaning restrooms, and stocking shelves for just $6 an hour. Had to work 3 jobs to make ends meet, and my story is just like similar to a lot of different immigrants here that work hard when they come to America, because there's no other option. There's no option B, right? This is the only thing that we have, and so really worked hard to be from mopping floors to be a cashier, then a manager, and then bought my first business, a gas station, here in Tarrant County in 2003. And then in 2008, when there was a recession, I owned 4 gas stations. So we really worked hard to live that American dream. And then I decided to go to law school at SMU, as if that was not enough, and just trying to excel myself and being outside the comfort zone. And that's where really progress happens. And so 4 long years, I went to my gas stations in the morning, and then in the evening, I went to SMU Law School and read these thick law school books. And after 4 long years, I graduated, became an attorney, and worked at Haynes & Moon, which is a large law firm. That's when I met Representative Rafael Anchia, who's a representative from the state of Texas, and he said it behooves us as attorneys to give back to our community. And that's when I joined my city council, or not city council, but park board in my city of Euless. I've lived in Euless for a long time, and I joined the park board. It's not an elected position, it's just something that I just wanted to serve my community. And then 2016 happened, and we elected a former president, and I felt that was the wrong decision for America. That all the reasons why I moved to America sort of canceled everything out, because he was talking about hate. He was talking about hate against immigrants, people from my faith, and that's not what America stands for. America opens its arms to people of all faiths and all religious backgrounds and all immigrants. And for hard work, you can get a lot of success here. And so I felt like this is, what should I do? What did I do wrong that this person is now elected? So in January 2017, he instituted a Muslim ban from 7 Muslim countries. And I was like, as an attorney, I feel that's unconstitutional. How dare can somebody discriminate based on my faith at a national level, the commander-in-chief himself. And so I ran for city council at that time and knocked on 5,000 doors, raised $35,000 for a city council race where people only raise $100 or $200. But I won only by 37 votes and made history by being the first minority ever elected in the history of the city of Euless. And I say that to not brag on myself, to let you know that every vote matters, and I'm sure you hear that, but I'm a living example of that. If 37 people stayed home that day out of 60,000 residents of city of Euless, since city of Euless has 60,000 people, 37 people decided that election. And so I'm really a beneficiary of that. Hard work pays off, became the mayor pro tem, and get this, there was a 7 city council member board. I was the only minority and the only Democrat on the city council. 6 of my Republican colleagues elected me as a mayor pro tem for the city of Euless in 2020. Because I worked so hard, they said nobody else can be the face of Euless except Salman, and so that's how they elected me. But then it didn't end there, because I felt like there was a momentum from the state of Texas trying to take more local control. trying to take more and more, usurp the power to themselves. And they speak from both sides of their mouth. When they go to the federal government, they're like, hey, we need more power to the state. And then when they go back to the city, it's like, we need more power to the state. So it just doesn't make sense. So I ran for State House, and last year in 2022, I knocked on 45,000 doors, raised $750,000 to again make history by being the first Muslim and the first South Asian ever elected in the history of the state of Texas. So the hard work pays off, like I said before, and I think you have to have the passion to serve. And I'm really, really a beneficiary of District 92. And even though the District 92 has like just 1% of Muslims, so it's not, I didn't win by Muslims or I didn't win by South Asians, I won by regular people, Hispanic community members, African American community members, just Caucasian and other community members, and I was really, really honored for that. But then when I got to the legislative session, that's when I started to make relationships, because that doesn't end there, right? It's all about relationships. I realized that all the elected officials in the House, Texas House and Texas Capitol, all have obviously egos because they've been elected, and so if you respect them, they give back quite a bit. And so I was able to work across the aisle with Republicans, with Democrats alike, and work on really good legislation. The relation that I made was so fruitful that I was appointed as a chairman of a subcommittee on criminal jurisprudence. And as a freshman in the State House, it is just very rare to have a freshman Democrat be appointed as a chairman of any subcommittee or any committee on House procedures. And so I was really, really honored to do that. And then, I filed 35 bills in the State House. I passed 10 out of the State House and 3 out of the State Senate, which is again the highest in terms of any Democrat freshman. And so, as Democrats, I see light at the end of the tunnel. It's only by bipartisan support that we can get things done. Right? In Texas, we have you can say, unfortunate reality that either you pass very conservative legislation or you pass moderate Republican agenda items. So I would rather take that moderate, because there are a lot of moderate Republicans out there who have worked with us. Like, I'll give you an example, ESG, environmental, I think sustainability and governance. Every corporation has that. There was a bill that was filed that we should get rid of, state of Texas should not invest in any company that has an ESG policy. ESG policy is good for environment. So that was a really bad bill, but actually with the help of my chairman, Giovanni Capriglione from South Lake, we were able to kill that bill. Now obviously there were a lot of other bills that were filed, like in the schools, and I think it was really, really bad. I think we had $33 billion when we started the session. So I was so gung-ho that we'll increase the basic allotment for public schools, we'll be able to give teacher pay raise. That's a lot of money. And so, unfortunately, we were not able to do that. Neither of those. We did give a big property tax relief, and I think you all see that in November. You'll be able to vote for that constitutional amendment. We gave the largest property tax relief in the history of the state of Texas, $18 billion. And the way it helps y'all is, if y'all own homes, right now it's $40,000 homestead exemption. So let's say if you own a home that's $200,000, you'll only pay property tax on $160,000. $40,000 will be deducted from that. We more than doubled that, made it from $40,000 to $100,000. So now if you own a $200,000 home, you'll only pay tax on $100,000. So that's going to be really, really beneficial for the state of Texas. But at the same time, it's a catch-22 because we're taking money from public schools for doing that, right? And how long is sustainable, I'm not sure about that. So that's what we have to see how we can make sure with that. We also increased the Texas franchise tax. So if you are a business owner right now, a small business owner, if you have $1 million in revenue a year, you're over that, you'll be paying a franchise tax. Right now, we changed it to $2.47 million. So if you have revenues $2 million or more, or $2 million or less, you're not going to be able to pay that franchise tax. So it saves businesses money so they can hire more people. And then we also have other property tax relief there, $4.7 million. So if you have revenues $2 million or more, or $2 million or less, you're not going to be able to pay that franchise tax. So it saves businesses money so they can hire more people. And then we also have other property tax relief there. Now, there's other attacks on the LGBT community this session, which was really, really bad. I stood, in support of the LGBT community because discrimination of any kind is not acceptable. And that's what Texas and America is all about: compassion, love, kindness, trying to open our arms, love thy neighbor. That's what we're taught, with all the religious things as well. And so that's what we try to do. In the property tax relief, I want to give a big shout out to Representative John Bryant, and I think Representative Lon Burnham works with Representative John Bryant. I have the largest renter base, so 62% of my district is composed of people that rent homes or rent apartments. They're renters. They did not get any property tax relief, right? Because when the owners, landlords will get the property tax, they'll probably keep it to themselves and not share it with renters. And so John Bryant, Representative John Bryant filed a bill, and I co-authored with him on that bill to provide renters some relief. So we get 10% of the last year's rent back, but that didn't get passed in the House this session. Looking forward to the next one, it is this session. I think all of you all talked about it. It's going to be on private school vouchers, and I've gone around and spoken to my school districts, and I've told them that it's going to be really unfortunate. What the governor wants to get this done, so he's going to dangle a carrot and say, "You guys want teacher pay raise? Okay, we can do that so long as we pass a private school voucher of some sort, maybe a small." But I told my teachers, unfortunately, I'm going to say no to both. And I know that you've not given teachers a pay raise, but it's not worth to give a teacher pay raise and open that door, even a slight, on private school vouchers. Because as soon as we open that door right now, next session they'll swing it wide open, and they will drain all this money for public schools. It'll go to private schools, and it's so ambiguous, right? State of Florida right now, they've passed a private school voucher, and parents are using that money to go to Universal Studios, because they're saying there's some educational value to go to Universal Studios, and they're applying for private school vouchers through that program. It's really going to drain all the money, because all the public funds will go to private ventures, not just private schools. And another thing is, how do we hold private schools accountable? What if they start teaching extremely far right-wing, Christian nationalism? We have no control of that, and there goes the next generation in having sort of mini versions of our former president, and we definitely don't want that. And so that's where we're going to stand strong. Fortunately, there are 24 rural Republicans in the State House that are banding with Democrats right now. That's why we have 88 votes against private school vouchers. But if the governor and the leadership starts tracking them down, it's going to be really, really sad, because there may be some form of voucher that gets passed, because the governor's going to call us every single time. If you remember on the property tax, we did not get done in the first session. He called us again in the second session, and that's when we got things done. And so it may be one session, two sessions, three sessions, all the way to Christmas. I'm not sure. But I think that's where we need help. I can't fight this alone. We need to be a community. And when community comes together, magical things can happen. So let's band together and talk to your state representative, talk to your senator, and say that we do not want to pass the private school voucher, that we want to band together with that, because it's going to be bad for everybody. And let's talk to them about the economic impact it'll have on everything, with the private school vouchers. With that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take it. But I'm really, really looking forward to representing the district. I'm a freshman representative, so I just finished my session, and now I'm in the intern and going around and talking to different communities to see how we can really help them out. And the Hispanic community, it has a really soft corner for me, because 33% of my district is composed of Hispanic community members, and if I can resonate with them, try to represent them, it would be my honor.
I'm glad I came this morning. My wife had a flat, so I was late. But anyway, I'm glad I made it just to hear you talk. My question is, where's that voucher crap coming from? The governor, I've seen him, what is it, third term? And I haven't ever seen him making anything on his own. So it's got to be coming from somewhere. And I haven't been able to follow the money to figure out who is behind this voucher stuff. Do you know?
I think it's the far right conservative movement that's coming together, right? And unfortunately, what happens, I don't know if a lot of people know this. Do you know what percentage of Texas decides who becomes a governor?
Yes, Florida. It's Florida. It's all Florida.
No. What percentage of Texas decides who becomes a governor?
5%.
Less than that, 4.01%. So there are about 8% of Texas comes out in the Republican primary, 8%. And so all they need is 4.01% to win in the Republican primary. And what's happening is a lot of these races are being decided at the Republican primary. They never get to be decided in the general election, because there's not enough votes in the state of Texas for that. So that Florida, Arizona, all have passed private school vouchers, and I think at that point when initially he was trying to market this, he was thinking about running for president. And so everybody, Ron DeSantis and all those that are running for president from the Republican Party have this agenda of getting private school vouchers. And so that's where it's coming from right now. And because he's made that promise, he's really gung-ho about this. And I think we just need to really band together. And right now there's a trial going on, if you all know, right? Senate Attorney General Ken Paxton. And so that's happening in the Senate. As soon as that ends is when it will be called in the special session. Yeah, but again, I wish I knew if the money was coming from there, but I think it's just the right-wing nationalism sort of that's taking over the state right now.
We got 2 questions over there.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm glad you're here too, as a legislator. I'm a teacher, and one of the things that I don't agree with, and a lot of people don't agree with, is the STAR test. The STAR test isn't a test that measures what kids know. It's kind of tricky. They even give a test to teachers, and with all the ambiguity of the questions, the tests are made by Pearson, and the online stuff is managed by Camden. It's a $388 million industry for the next 3 years. For those of you that are educators or past educators, and for my people here on the administration, the associate superintendents and whatnot, a better indicator of grade level, college level preparedness is math. Measure of academic progress. We give this test to kids every year, usually once at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. It doesn't take a whole day to take, okay? And it tells you the grade level equivalence of the kids. We give them growth measures or growth goals. So you can see if kids making progress. A kid at Tanglewood High School or Highland Park, may not make the same growth as an inner city kid in a Title I school. So the teachers that are busting their butts in Title I schools are doing a better job than those teachers at Highland Park and Tanglewood. So props to all my Title I teachers, administrators, classes. So what I'm asking of you, what I'm asking of the board, everybody here is we need to get rid of this STAR test and use math to be the true indicator. So you look from spring to spring, all right? You want to see a year of growth. And then there's some kids that are exceptional. They take the test in 7th grade, they're at 12th grade reading level, 12th grade math. It shows you where they're at. And even those kids we can't let go. Okay, we have former GT kids here, right here, that we also need to be challenged. We can't get rid of our top people, right? A lot of top people, we struggle, we need to be challenged. We get bored, we start causing ruckus in the classrooms, right? So math is the best indicator of academic readiness, where they're at. It shows it. It's black and white, okay? And then that tells you where the kids are. 5 quintiles, Q1, lowest, Q2. We should be teaching at Q3, and then doing remediation and doing some type of grouping to help us. And can't forget our Q4s and Q5s, which are the kids that are grade level, right? So math, we need to lobby to get rid of this money cash grab system for Pearson, for Camden, and then all this stress for teachers to every year they keep changing. It's not fair. The accountability system is not fair. You don't know where you're at until after. Now they measure everybody. No. Let's lobby to get rid of this STAR. Let's go with math. Let's stop wasting this money senselessly. So that's what I'm asking for with the election and of course vouchers. Even if it gets passed, it's unconstitutional. There's a guaranteed right of separation of church and state. So worst case scenario gets passed, we need to go to the courts to appeal this.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments, and thank you for being a teacher. I don't think we say that enough, and I don't think we value teachers enough. I'm from Pakistan, and over there, if we're doing anything and the teacher walks in the room, we stand up to show that respect. We consider teachers God, and so I really appreciate you stepping up and teaching our next generation. In terms of accountability, I think if they're changing the metrics mid-year, I think that doesn't make sense. And I think you also talked about that a little bit. It doesn't make sense. But I think in terms of maps or STAR, I actually honestly am not enough well-versed to make a decision on that. But I know you know a lot, and I think there are a lot of people who are experts. Let's reach out to you reach out to Natalie and come. Let's have an advisory board to understand everything and then make a decision based on that's solid facts. Because once we make the change, it's going to be very difficult to go back to the old ones. We want to make sure we do it the right decision and make sure that we're focusing on the child's learning. That's the most important thing. We all are focused on that. So thank you so much for those comments.
One more over there. And then over here.